The captive from Earth. The galaxy trembled at the name of Queen Sarathis, ruler of the Varn Dominion, a species so advanced and proud that they saw humans as little more than clever beasts. When humanity dared to resist their rule, Sarathis unleashed her fleets, burning colonies and enslaving survivors. Among those captured was a man named Captain Elias Kane, a soldier who had fought until his ship was shattered. He woke inside a chamber of silver light, his body restrained, his mind filled with questions. Why was he still alive? Sarathis entered, her tall frame draped in obsidian armor, eyes glowing violet, her voice cold as the void. "You defied me," she said, "and yet you still breathe. Tell me, human, what makes your kind so stubborn?" Elias met her gaze, his lips cracked but his spirit unbroken. "Because we don't bow to monsters," he said softly. For the first time in her reign, Sarathis felt something she couldn't name. Curiosity, maybe admiration, maybe irritation. Days turned to weeks, and instead of killing him, the queen began to question him daily. She wanted to understand what drove humans to fight when logic said surrender was the only path. Elias told her stories of Earth's wars, of love, of sacrifice, of the feeling of rain after a storm. Each word seemed to chip away at the wall around her heart, even if she didn't admit it one evening. As a storm of plasma lightning flashed beyond the crystal windows, Sarathis asked him, "Why do you care so much for a world so small?" He smiled faintly. "Because it's ours, we protect what we love." That word, love, was alien to her. A weakness, yet it lingered in her mind long after she left. Her advisors warned her that she was growing too attached to the prisoner. They whispered that humans were dangerous, their emotions contagious, their spirits infectious. Sarathis ignored them. But when she found herself dreaming of blue oceans and human laughter, she grew afraid of the change happening inside her. One night, when the alarms blared and a human resistance ship attacked the outer rings of her palace, Elias broke free from his bonds to save her life. He tackled an assassin meant for her throne, taking a plasma blade meant for her heart. As he fell bleeding, he smiled weakly. "Told you. Humans protect what they love." Sarathis froze, her mind shattering, her hand trembling as she held him close that night. The queen who once despised humanity did something no one had ever seen. She wept. And in the silence of that moment, under the red glow of alien moons, something changed forever. The forbidden bond. The medics worked through the night, their hands trembling as they tried to save the human. Elias hovered between life and death, his heartbeat slow but stubborn. Refusing to give up, Sarathis stayed by his side. A queen who had once ordered the extermination of entire worlds, now watching over a single fragile human. Her generals stood in the shadows, whispering that she had lost her mind, that the infection of human emotion had taken root in her. For the first time, she didn't care what they said. When Elias finally opened his eyes, weak but alive, he saw her face close to his. Without the usual mask of power, without the cold command, there was something gentle there, almost human. "Why did you save me?" he whispered. Sarathis hesitated, her voice breaking for the first time. "Because you reminded me of what I forgot long ago. Mercy." In the days that followed, she visited him in secret, hidden from her counsel's eyes. They spoke about Earth, about music, laughter, the smell of forests after rain. She asked him to describe love again, and this time, she listened with her heart instead of her mind. The word no longer sounded weak. It sounded powerful, like a force that could burn stars and heal wounds. But their growing closeness didn't stay hidden for long. The High Warlord of the Dominion, Vexar, confronted her, his voice filled with venom. "You risk everything for a creature of dirt and blood," he growled. "He's beneath us." Sarathis rose from her throne, her eyes fierce. "Then perhaps it is we who have fallen beneath something greater." That defiance marked her as a traitor to her own kind. Though none dared move against her yet, the queen began to change the rules of the palace. Ordering the release of certain human captives, she established peace zones, forbidding her fleets from attacking Earth colonies without her approval. Rumors spread like wildfire through the stars. The alien queen has gone mad for a human. Elias, still recovering, felt the weight of what his presence had caused. He tried to warn her. "They'll turn on you. You're risking everything for me." But Sarathis only smiled faintly. What is a crown worth if it means ruling without a soul? One night, she brought him to the observatory, the highest tower of her citadel. Outside, the twin suns of Varn bathed the silver city in amber light. I used to think beauty was in control, she said quietly. But maybe it's in connection. Elias looked at her, realizing he was no longer speaking to a monster, but to a woman torn between two worlds that night. The line between captor and captive disappeared. A queen of stars and a man from Earth shared a moment forbidden by both their kinds. And in the silence that followed, the universe itself seemed to hold its breath. But love in the Dominion was never free outside their chamber. The High Warlord activated a hidden surveillance system. His cold smile reflected in the glowing screens. "Let her fall," he whispered. "And let the galaxy see the price of loving a human, the betrayal among the stars." The palace felt colder than ever, though the suns of Varn still burned outside. Whispers traveled through the silver halls, rumors that their mighty queen had fallen in love with a human prisoner. The council demanded proof, and the High Warlord Vexar was only too happy to provide it. He played the recordings before the gathered lords, images of Sarathy standing close to Elias, her eyes soft, her hand touching his. Gasps filled the hall, some in shock, others in fury. "The queen has betrayed her blood," one elder hissed. "She has allowed a human to poison her heart." Vexar struck the floor with his staff. "She has weakened the Dominion," he declared. "And for that she must be replaced." When Sarathis entered, the room went silent. Her steps echoed like thunder. Her armor gleamed beneath the high light of the crystal dome. She saw the accusation in their eyes, but stood tall. "You fear love more than you fear war," she said calmly. "Because love makes you see beyond power," Vexar sneered. "Love is weakness," Sarathis met his glare. "Then may the weak inherit the stars." The guards turned on her, and in that instant, the queen of the Varn Dominion became a fugitive. Elias, still weak but determined, helped her escape through the hidden corridors beneath the citadel. Alarms blared, red lights flashed, and the voices of soldiers echoed through the tunnels. She led him through ancient halls carved before the first wars. Her hand trembling but firm, outside their ship waited, a stolen vessel meant for the royal guard. As they ascended into the stormy sky, Vexar's fleet rose behind them. A wall of fire and metal, the chase began. A deadly dance through the shattered rings of Varn. Explosions painted the void in crimson light as Sarathis piloted with precision, born of desperation. Elias manned the weapons, his human reflexes surprising her. He grinned through the chaos. "You said humans were reckless." She smiled faintly. "And yet that recklessness is saving us." For a brief moment, even surrounded by death, they laughed together. But Vexar was not finished. He activated a planetary weapon, a gravity net meant to pull ships from orbit. The vessel shuddered, alarms screamed. The hull cracked as energy surged. Elias was thrown against the console. Blood trickling down his face, Sarathis screamed his name. Fighting the controls as the ship began to fall, they crashed into a barren moon. The impact shaking the surface. Smoke filled the air, metal twisted, and silence followed. Sarathis crawled to his side. Her eyes wet with tears, she didn't know she could still cry. "Stay with me," she whispered. "You cannot die now." Elias's hand found hers, his voice faint but steady. "If I die, promise me one thing. Don't go back to who you were." She nodded, even as his eyes began to close. The queen who once ruled millions now held the only life that mattered to her, and as the stars above flickered, a new fear dawned inside her heart. She was carrying more than his memory. She was carrying his child. The child of two worlds. The barren moon became her refuge, a grave and a cradle at once. Sarathis buried the wreckage of their ship beneath layers of dust and silence. Elias's body she laid beneath a dome of crystal stone, his name etched in both human letters and alien script. Every night she sat by that grave, her hands over her heart, feeling the quiet thrum of a second heartbeat inside her. Months passed, and the stars above watched in silence as a legend began to change. The feared alien queen no longer wore her crown or armor. Her once shining palace now existed only in memory. She built a small shelter with her own hands, hunted for food, and spoke to the unborn child in her womb. "Your father was brave," she whispered, "and because of him, I will not be the monster I once was." When the child was born, the universe shifted. His eyes glowed faintly blue like his father's, but with rings of violet light, the mark of the Varn. His heartbeat was stronger than either species had known. Sarathis named him Kale, meaning bridge of light in the old Varn tongue. Years passed and Kale grew quickly. Curious, intelligent, full of both compassion and fire. He would climb the rocks at dawn, pointing at the stars. "Mother, which one is Father's world?" she smiled sadly. "That small blue one, far beyond the silver haze." He would stare for hours, as if he could see Earth itself. But peace was never meant to last. The Dominion scouts finally found the wrecked ship's signal buried beneath the moon's crust. Vexar's fleet descended like vultures, their black hulls blotting out the sun. Sarathis sensed them long before she saw them. She packed what little she had, holding Kale's small hand tightly. "We must go." The sky erupted in fire as the first plasma bolts hit. Sarathis ran through the canyons, her strength fading but her resolve iron. Kale stumbled, fear in his eyes. "Mother, who are they?" "They are the past," she said, "and we are the future." She reached the ancient hangar of a forgotten colony, a place once built by humans during the first expansion. Inside, among dust and silence, she found an old Terran ship. Its systems long dormant, she touched the controls, whispering an old prayer Elias once taught her. Miraculously, the engines roared back to life, a symbol of two worlds refusing to die. As the ship lifted off, Vexar's flagship appeared on the horizon. His voice thundered through the comms. "You cannot escape your blood." "Sarathis," she looked at her son and replied quietly, "My blood no longer belongs to you." She activated the hyperdrive. Vanishing into the deep dark between galaxies far beyond the Dominion's reach, Sarathis and Kale found sanctuary on a remote world. Lush forests, blue skies, and ancient human ruins. Kale thrived there, learning from both cultures, his mind bridging what had been divided for centuries. But deep inside Sarathis's heart, she knew the day would come when her son's existence would change everything. A child born of two enemies was a secret too powerful to stay hidden forever. And somewhere, light years away, the Dominion plotted its revenge. Vexar's fleet rebuilt stronger than ever, his eyes burning with hatred. "The Queen has given birth to a monster," he growled. "And we will find him." The return of the hybrid. Years turned like the slow drift of stars. Kale grew tall, his eyes holding the calm of his mother and the fire of his father. He learned to survive in the wilderness, to read both alien glyphs and human words, but more than anything, he learned to dream of a galaxy where humans and the Varn no longer feared each other. Sarathis grew older, though her power never faded. She watched her son train with the old weapons of two species, his every move echoing both bloodlines. "Mother," Kale said one night, "why do they hate us?" "Because they fear what they don't understand," she replied softly. But fear always breaks before truth. When Kale reached his 20th cycle, the peace they had built shattered. The sky above their hidden world burned red once again. The Dominion had found them, led by Vexar himself, his fleet blotting out the dawn. Through the comms, his voice hissed, "The hybrid abomination will die today." Sarathis stood tall on the ridge, the wind lifting her white hair. Beside her, Kale held a weapon his father once used, reforged with alien metal and human steel. "Mother," he said, "if this is my destiny, I will not run." She placed a hand on his shoulder, pride and sorrow in her eyes. "You are the reason I became more than a queen. You are the reason I became alive." The first wave hit, thunder shaking the ground. Kale moved like lightning, his reflexes beyond anything the soldiers had seen. Bullets of plasma curved midair as if obeying his will, the hybrid energy inside him awakening fully. Ships fell from the sky as if the stars themselves turned against Vexar's fleet, but victory came with cost. Sarathis was struck during the final assault, collapsing beside her son. Kale caught her before she hit the ground, her voice trembling. "Do not let my death divide you from them." Tears fell from his glowing eyes. "I won't, Mother. I'll make them see." With her last breath, Sarathis smiled. "Then the galaxy is yours now, my bridge of light." And the queen who once ruled with iron and fire closed her eyes in peace. Kale rose slowly, his heart burning like a star. He walked into the ruins of the battlefield, his voice echoing through every comm frequency. "I am Kale Sarathis Kane," he said, "son of humanity and the Varn Dominion. I carry both your blood and your mistakes. But I am not your enemy, I am your future." For the first time in 1,000 years, the guns fell silent. Humans across distant colonies listened in awe. Varn soldiers dropped their weapons, confused by the strange calm that filled their hearts. Fexar tried to fire again, but his own crew refused, their eyes fixed on the boy glowing with the light of two worlds. And then the impossible happened. Kale reached out, his hand open, not for war, but for peace around him. The wrecked sky filled with light, as if the galaxy itself acknowledged the end of an age. From that day forward, the chronicles would call it the rebirth of the stars, the story of a queen who hated humanity until she gave birth to one's child, and that child changed the fate of creation itself.